Imagine walking into a luxury shopping district. Glass storefronts stretching for blocks. Perfect lighting, perfect music, perfect displays. Inside one store, a leather handbag costs $8,000. Across the street, another store sells a bag that performs exactly the same function for $80. Both carry your belongings. Both zip closed. Both last for years if cared for properly. Yet one costs 100 times more than the other. Why? Most people answer immediately. Because it's better. But is it? Or are we paying for something that can't actually be touched? Now imagine two people receiving the exact same promotion. Both worked equally hard. Both received the same raise. Both finally feel that life is moving forward. The next Saturday, Daniel walks into a bookstore. He buys 2 books on investing. He increases his monthly investment contribution. Then he quietly celebrates with his family over dinner. Michael celebrates differently. He buys a luxury watch, designer shoes, a premium phone upgrade. His friends congratulate him. You finally look successful. For a moment, both men feel equally happy. But 10 years later, only one of them owns financial freedom. The other still looks wealthy. This raises a fascinating question. What exactly are luxury brands selling? Leather? Steel? Fabric? Jewelry? Or something much more valuable? An identity? Because if luxury were only about quality, people wouldn't stand in line overnight to buy products that cost thousands of dollars. They wouldn't pay more simply because a celebrity wore them. They wouldn't feel embarrassed carrying an unbranded product that works just as well. Clearly, something deeper is happening. Long before luxury companies learned how to market expensive products, human beings were already competing for status. Thousands of years ago, status increased your chances of survival. Higher status often meant better protection, better food, better opportunities, better mates. Your brain learned to notice where you stood inside of you. That instinct never disappeared. It simply evolved. Today, instead of displaying hunting skills, we display brands. Instead of competing for survival, we compete for appearances. The ancient brain still plays the same game. Only the symbols have changed. Walk through almost any major city, and you'll notice something interesting. Luxury advertisements rarely focus on the product itself. They rarely talk about stitching, or materials, or manufacturing. Instead, they show power, confidence, beauty, influence, freedom, admiration. The message is subtle. They're not saying, buy this bag. They're saying, become this person. That is one of the most profitable psychological strategies ever created. Because people rarely buy products. They buy the person they hope the product will help them become. Behavioral economist Daniel Kahneman spent decades studying how people make decisions. His research revealed that much of our thinking happens automatically, driven by emotion before logic has time to respond. Luxury marketing understands this remarkably well. Before your logical mind begins comparing prices, your emotional mind has already imagined a different version of yourself. More respected, more attractive, more successful, more important. The purchase feels logical, but the decision often began emotionally. Financial writer Morgan Housel offers a simple observation that quietly explains this entire phenomenon. Spending money to show people how much money you have is the fastest way to have less money. At first, that sounds almost too simple. But think about it. The money used to impress strangers can no longer work for your future. Every dollar spent buying appearances is one less dollar buying ownership, one less dollar compounding, one less dollar creating freedom. Luxury itself isn't the enemy. Confusing appearance with wealth is. Over the next few minutes, we're going to uncover why luxury brands understand your psychology better than most people understand themselves. Why status can quietly become one of the biggest obstacles to building wealth. How billion-dollar companies transform ordinary products into powerful symbols of success. and why some of the wealthiest people in the world intentionally avoid looking wealthy at all. Because by the end of this documentary, you may discover that the most expensive thing luxury brands ever sold was never the handbag, never the watch, never the car. It was the belief that looking rich is the same thing as becoming rich. And that single belief has quietly kept millions of people from ever building real wealth. At the end of the introduction, we uncovered a surprising possibility that luxury brands may not be selling products at all. They may be selling identities. But that raises an even deeper question. If most people know an expensive logo won't automatically make them wealthy, why do millions of intelligent people still spend extraordinary amounts of money chasing it? Why does a designer bag feel different from an ordinary bag, even when both perform exactly the same function? Why does driving a luxury car often feel like an achievement before it ever becomes transportation? The answer begins thousands of years before luxury brands ever existed. Imagine two tribes living on opposite sides of a valley. Resources are limited. Food is scarce. Protection is never guaranteed. Inside each tribe, status matters. The strongest hunters receive the greatest respect. The wisest leaders influence important decisions. Those with higher status often gain better opportunities, more trust, greater influence. Your ancestors didn't spend thousands of dollars on luxury brands, but their brains learned something incredibly important. Status improves survival. Generation after generation, that lesson became deeply embedded inside the human mind. Today, most of us no longer compete for survival, yet our brains still compete for status. The battlefield changed. The psychology didn't. Walk into almost any high school, university, corporate office, or social gathering. You'll notice something fascinating. People naturally observe one another, not always consciously, but constantly. The watch on someone's wrist, the logo on their shoes, the phone in their hand, the neighborhood they live in, the restaurant they choose, the vacation they post online. Our brains quietly collect these signals, trying to answer an ancient question. Where do I fit? Most people believe they're evaluating products. In reality, they're often evaluating position. Let's return to Daniel and Michael. Both have now settled into successful careers. After years of hard work, they each receive another promotion. The salary increase is significant. Friends encourage them to celebrate. You deserve it. You've earned this. You should finally treat yourself. Daniel smiles, but before spending anything, he asks himself one question. What will this raise allow me to own 5 years from now? Michael asks a different question. What should someone at my level be driving? Neither question sounds unreasonable. Both feel completely natural. Yet hidden inside each question is a completely different definition of success. A few weeks later, Daniel quietly increases his investment contributions. He pays off part of his mortgage early. He allocates a small amount for a family vacation. Nothing dramatic changes. His lifestyle looks almost identical. Michael's life changes much faster. A luxury SUV appears in the driveway. Designer clothing replaces half his wardrobe. His social media fills with congratulatory comments. You've made it. You look successful. For a while, it feels incredible. And that's exactly what makes status so persuasive. It works, at least for a moment. Psychologist Robert Cialdini, whose work on influence transformed the understanding of human decision-making, explains that people naturally look to others when deciding what is valuable. This principle is known as social proof. If everyone wants something, our brains instinctively assume it must be important. Luxury companies understand this exceptionally well. That's why they don't simply advertise products. They create demand, waiting lists, exclusive launches, celebrity endorsements, influencers, private events. Every signal communicates the same message. This isn't for everyone, and strangely, the fewer people who can have it, the more people want it. Imagine entering a boutique. Inside, only 3 watches remain. A salesperson quietly tells you, this model usually sells out within hours. Suddenly, the watch feels more valuable. Not because it changed, because your perception changed. Scarcity creates urgency. Urgency weakens careful thinking, and emotional decisions often become expensive decisions. The product didn't become more useful. It simply became harder to obtain. Sometimes, exclusivity itself becomes the product. Daniel experiences the same marketing, the same advertisements, the same influencers, the same carefully designed stores. But before making large purchases, he waits. A day, sometimes a week, occasionally a month. Something interesting happens. Many of the things that once felt urgent quietly lose their importance. Michael rarely waits. The excitement feels real. The purchase feels deserved. The emotional reward arrives immediately. So does the payment. Months later, the excitement fades. The monthly installment remains. Behavioral economist Daniel Kahneman described two systems that guide our decisions. One is fast, emotional, automatic. The other is slow, thoughtful, analytical. Luxury marketing is carefully designed to activate the first system. Beautiful lighting, elegant packaging, limited availability, prestigious environments. Everything encourages immediate emotion. Before careful analysis begins, Daniel has trained himself to pause long enough for the second system to join the conversation. Michael often decides before logic has a chance to speak. Neither man is less intelligent. One simply leaves more room for reflection. There's another reason status is so powerful. People don't just buy products, they buy stories. A luxury watch doesn't merely tell time. It quietly says, "I've succeeded." A designer handbag doesn't simply carry belongings. It suggests belonging, recognition, achievement, identity. That's why removing the logo from many luxury products dramatically changes how people value them. The object remains the same. Only the story disappears. And sometimes, the story was the most expensive part. Perhaps that's the greatest illusion luxury brands ever discovered. They don't need to convince you that their products are better. They only need to convince you that you will be. Because once identity becomes attached to ownership, price becomes easier to justify, even when the purchase quietly delays the very future you're trying to build. But luxury brands aren't creating this desire alone. They've mastered something even more powerful, the science of manufacturing desire itself. And once you understand how they do it, you'll never look at advertising the same way again. At the end of the last chapter, we uncovered a surprising truth. Luxury brands don't simply sell products. They sell stories. Stories about success, belonging, confidence, status. But that raises an even bigger question. If these companies aren't really selling leather, or watches, or shoes, what are they really selling? The answer is desire. Not natural desire, engineered desire. The world's most successful luxury brands don't wait for people to want their products. They create that desire. Imagine walking into two stores. The first is packed with products. Discount signs are everywhere. Everything is easy to buy. Now imagine the second. Soft lighting. Only a few products on display. Some shelves are nearly empty. A salesperson quietly says, "I'm sorry, there's a waiting list." Suddenly, the second store feels more valuable. Not because the products changed, because your brain interprets rarity as importance. Scarcity changes perception, and perception changes behavior. Psychologist Robert Cialdini identified scarcity as one of the strongest influences on human decisions. When something appears limited, we assume it's valuable, not because we've analyzed it, because we fear missing out. Luxury brands have turned this into a multi-billion-dollar strategy. Limited editions, exclusive collections, invitation-only events, artificial waiting lists. The harder something is to obtain, the more valuable it feels. Sometimes, people aren't buying the object. They're buying the feeling of being one of the few who could. Let's return to Daniel and Michael. A luxury brand announces a limited edition watch. Only 500 pieces will be released worldwide. Social media explodes. Collectors post countdowns. Influencers predict an instant sellout. Michael joins the waiting list. He isn't replacing an old watch. He isn't solving a problem. He's afraid of missing the opportunity. Daniel sees the same announcement. He admires the craftsmanship, then asks himself, if no one knew I owned this, would I still want it? The question changes everything. Luxury companies understand another truth. People rarely compare products. They compare themselves. Imagine attending a dinner party. One guest wears a designer jacket. Another drives a luxury sports car. Someone casually mentions a 5-star resort. No one tells you to spend more. Yet without noticing, you begin measuring yourself against everyone else. Psychologists call this social comparison. Luxury marketing doesn't create this instinct. It simply gives it something to focus on. Now open your favorite social media app. Within minutes, you see luxury vacations, designer clothes, private jets, luxury cars, perfect homes. It feels like everyone is living an extraordinary life. But you're not seeing reality. You're seeing carefully selected highlights. Your brain doesn't always distinguish between reality and repeated exposure. The more often you see extraordinary lifestyles, the more ordinary your own life begins to feel. Not because your life changed, because your reference point did. Behavioral economists call this reference dependence. We judge success relative to what surrounds us. That's why someone earning $80,000 may feel wealthy in one neighborhood and poor in another. Income didn't change. Comparison did. Luxury brands understand this perfectly. Their ads rarely ask, "Can you afford this?" Instead, they quietly ask, "Can you afford not to look successful?" It's a far more dangerous question. Michael notices something strange. Every purchase excites him, but only briefly. The luxury watch feels special until someone owns a rarer one. The designer shoes until the next collection arrives. The expensive phone until a newer model appears. The finish line keeps moving because it was never meant to be reached. Luxury brands don't sell lasting satisfaction. They sell endless aspiration. Daniel chooses a different path. Instead of chasing every release, he studies investing. He learns how luxury companies create billions in value. Then he notices something ironic. The people becoming truly wealthy are often the shareholders, not the customers. One group spends, the other earns. Morgan Housel once observed that wealth is what you don't see. The luxury car may be financed. The designer clothes may be bought on credit. The expensive vacation may still be unpaid. Real wealth often looks ordinary because money invested usually isn't visible. Money spent on appearances almost always is. Perhaps that's the greatest strategy luxury brands ever perfected. They don't just manufacture products. They manufacture aspiration. And aspiration has no finish line. Because the moment one desire is satisfied, another quietly takes its place. But if desire can always be manufactured, why does satisfaction disappear so quickly? The answer lies in one of the most powerful forces shaping human behavior, our remarkable ability to get used to almost anything. At the end of the last chapter, we discover that luxury brands don't simply respond to desire. They create it through scarcity, comparison, exclusivity, and carefully crafted stories. But that raises a question few people ask. If finally owning what we've always wanted feels so incredible, why doesn't the feeling last? Why does the excitement fade? After buying the watch, the car, the designer bag, or the dream house, why does finally become what's next? The answer isn't inside the product. It's inside the human brain. Imagine a child receiving the bicycle they've dreamed about for months. The excitement is unforgettable. They ride it every day, show it to every friend. But 6 months later, the bicycle feels ordinary. Nothing about it changed. The child's brain did. What once felt extraordinary now feels normal. Adults do the same thing. Only our toys become more expensive. Psychologists call this hedonic adaptation. The brain is built to adapt. Whether life gets better or worse, our emotions gradually return toward normal. That ability helped humans survive. But today, it creates an unexpected problem. The happiness from buying something new almost always expires. Think about your last major purchase. A phone, a car, a television, a piece of jewelry. At first, it was exciting. You noticed every detail. Then, without realizing it, the extraordinary became ordinary. Soon, you stopped enjoying what you owned. You started noticing what someone else owned. Let's return to Michael. The luxury watch he dreamed about finally sits on his wrist. Friends admire it. Co-workers compliment him. He feels successful. Then one afternoon, a colleague arrives wearing a newer model. Suddenly, his watch doesn't feel as special. Nothing happened to the watch. Only one thing changed. His comparison. Daniel experiences the same temptation. He notices luxury cars, vacations, designer clothing. He's not immune to desire. No one is. But whenever he feels the urge to upgrade, he asks, will this improve my life? Or only improve how my life appears? Sometimes the answer is yes. Often, it isn't. That single question saves him thousands of dollars. More importantly, it protects his peace of mind. James Clear writes, every action you take is a vote for the type of person you wish to become. Every purchase becomes a vote, not just for ownership, but for identity. If every purchase says, I need people to see me differently, the brain begins depending on external approval. But if every financial decision says, I'm building something that lasts, a different identity takes shape. One identity consumes, the other compounds. There's another trap. Lifestyle inflation. Imagine someone earning $50,000. A few years later, they're earning $150,000. They should feel more secure. Many don't. Why? Because expenses rise with income. The apartment gets larger. The car gets newer. Vacations become more expensive. Yesterday's luxury becomes today's necessity. Income rises. Freedom doesn't. Daniel treats every raise as a chance to increase ownership. Michael treats every raise as permission to spend more. Both feel reasonable. 10 years later, their lives look very different. Daniel owns investments generating income. Michael owns larger monthly payments. One person's money works for them. The other's keeps working for everyone else. Behavioral economist Richard Thaler showed that people rarely make perfectly rational financial decisions. Instead, we tell ourselves, I deserve this. It's only this once. I'll save more next month. Each excuse sounds harmless, but repeated hundreds of times, small justifications become expensive habits. Not because one purchase is disastrous, because together, they quietly shape an entire financial life. Now imagine two neighbors. One drives a luxury SUV, lives in a beautiful home, wears designer clothing. The other drives an older car, lives modestly, avoids unnecessary upgrades. Who looks wealthier? Most people answer immediately, but appearances reveal very little. The first may owe the bank almost everything. The second may quietly own millions in productive assets. That's the paradox of wealth. The things people use to look rich often prevent them from becoming rich. Thomas Stanley spent years studying everyday millionaires. His findings surprised the world. Many bought used cars, lived below their means, avoided status purchases, saved consistently, invested patiently. Their goal wasn't admiration. It was independence. They understood something most people never do. Looking wealthy and being wealthy are rarely the same. Michael slowly sees the pattern. Every luxury purchase brought excitement, but never peace. The excitement faded. The next desire always arrived. For the first time, he wonders if he's been chasing a feeling that was never meant to last. Daniel found that feeling elsewhere. Inside patience, inside ownership, inside watching his investments grow quietly while he slept. The reward came more slowly. But unlike excitement, it stayed. Perhaps that's luxury's greatest illusion. That one more purchase will finally be enough. But enough isn't something you buy. It's something you decide. Because until your definition of success changes, No amount of status will ever feel permanent. The people who build lasting wealth understand this. They measure success, not by what they display, but by what they quietly own. And that changes everything. At the end of the last chapter, we uncovered one of modern life's greatest illusions. That enough cannot be purchased, because every new symbol of success eventually becomes ordinary. But that leaves a bigger question. If buying luxury costs more than the price tag, what does it really cost? The answer, far more than most people imagine. Every purchase has two prices, the one you pay today and the one your future pays tomorrow. Most people notice only the first. The wealthy calculate both. Imagine walking into a dealership. You find a luxury car you've always wanted. The leather smells new. The paint shines beneath the showroom lights. The salesperson smiles. For only $1,200 a month, it can be yours today. Your brain focuses on one number. $1,200. Can you afford it? Maybe, but that's the wrong question. A better one is, what else could this money become? Because every dollar has more than one possible future. Imagine placing $1,200 on a table. On one side, it becomes a car payment. On the other, an investment. At first, the difference is invisible. Years later, one side has lost value. The other has quietly grown. One demands more payments. The other produces returns. The same money. Two completely different futures. Economists call this opportunity cost. Every decision eliminates another possibility. Buying one thing means giving up something else. The true cost of a purchase isn't just what leaves your wallet. It's everything that money could have become, given enough time. And time may be the greatest investment partner you'll ever have. Let's return to Daniel. After another promotion, his co-workers celebrate. One upgrades to a larger house. Another leases a luxury SUV. Someone laughs. What's the point of earning more if you don't enjoy it? Daniel enjoys life too. He travels, spends time with family, buys things he genuinely values. But before upgrading his lifestyle, he upgrades his ownership. His investments receive the first raise. His future gets paid before his present does. Michael receives the same raise. He imagines the life successful people are supposed to live. A better neighborhood, luxury memberships, premium furniture, a new watch. Each choice feels reasonable. After all, he's earning more than ever. What he doesn't notice is that every upgrade quietly claims part of his future income. Before long, most of next month's paycheck already has somewhere to go. This is how financial pressure grows. Not through one reckless decision, but through dozens of reasonable ones. One subscription, one upgrade, one loan, one finance purchase. Each feels manageable. Together, they become permanent. Eventually, people earning six figures ask the same question as everyone else. Where did all my money go? Income increased. Obligations increased faster. Thomas Stanley spent years studying self-made millionaires. What surprised him wasn't their income. It was how little they felt the need to prove it. Many drove practical cars, lived modestly, avoided unnecessary luxury. Not because they couldn't afford more, because they understood something most people miss. Every unnecessary expense carries an invisible cost. Not just today's payment, but decades of lost compounding. They weren't sacrificing happiness. They were buying freedom. Imagine planting two identical oak trees. One grows undisturbed. Year after year, its roots deepen, its branches spread. The other loses a few branches every spring. The damage seems small, but decades later, it never becomes what it could have been. Money behaves the same way. Every unnecessary withdrawal from your future reduces what compounding could have built. Quietly, patiently, year after year, Daniel notices something remarkable. His salary no longer determines how secure he feels. His investments do. Each month, assets he bought years ago continue growing. Some pay dividends. Others appreciate in value. His money starts working, even while he sleeps. He realizes something profound. Real wealth isn't measured by what you can buy today. It's measured by how many future choices you've already purchased. Michael experiences the opposite. His income has never been higher, yet neither has his stress. A larger house means higher maintenance. A luxury car means higher insurance. Success becomes more expensive to maintain. He's no longer paying for possessions. He's paying to preserve an image. And images can be remarkably expensive. Warren Buffett once warned, if you buy things you do not need, soon you'll have to sell things you need. It sounds like advice about spending. It's really advice about priorities. Because every unnecessary purchase competes with something essential. Your investments, your freedom, your peace of mind, your future options. The competition is invisible until years have passed. Perhaps that's the hidden cost of looking rich. The greatest expense isn't the watch, the designer clothes, or the expensive car. It's the freedom those dollars never had the chance to create. Every dollar spent to impress others loses the opportunity to quietly improve your own life. The wealthiest people understand something simple. Money has two jobs. It can help you look successful, or it can help you become successful. Trying to make it do both often accomplishes neither. But if appearances aren't the true measure of wealth, then what is? The answer may surprise you, because the people who build extraordinary wealth often look surprisingly ordinary. When we ended the last chapter, we uncovered the hidden cost of looking rich. Not just the money spent, but the freedom quietly lost. Every luxury purchase asks the same question. Do you want to impress people today or create freedom tomorrow? But that leads to a bigger mystery. If real wealth isn't defined by expensive possessions, what does it actually look like? The answer may surprise you, because genuine wealth is often invisible. Imagine walking through an airport. One traveler wears designer clothing. A luxury watch catches the light. Premium luggage rolls beside them. Another wears simple jeans, comfortable shoes, an ordinary backpack. Who looks wealthier? Most people choose the first, but appearances deceive. The first traveler may owe the bank hundreds of thousands. The second may quietly own businesses, investment properties, and a portfolio growing while they sleep. We associate visible spending with success, but wealth rarely announces itself. It compounds in silence. Let's return to Daniel and Michael. Nearly 15 years have passed since their first promotion. From the outside, both seem successful. Both have good careers. Both earn strong incomes. But beneath the surface, their financial lives have quietly separated. Daniel owns shares in companies around the world. His investments have compounded for years. Some pay dividends. Others continue appreciating. He isn't wealthy because of one brilliant decision. He's wealthy because of thousands of ordinary ones, repeated consistently. Michael also worked hard. He earned promotions, celebrated milestones, but much of his higher income disappeared as quickly as it arrived. New payments replaced old ones. Luxury upgrades became expectations. Each felt reasonable, until he realized he had spent years increasing his lifestyle without increasing his freedom. Thomas Stanley spent decades studying self-made millionaires. His conclusion challenged popular culture. Many millionaires don't look wealthy. They don't constantly chase status. They don't buy every luxury item they can afford. Instead, they prioritize ownership, financial independence, long-term investing, living below their means. Their goal isn't admiration. It's autonomy. They understood something many people never do. Looking wealthy and becoming wealthy are completely different pursuits. Imagine an iceberg. Above the water, everyone notices the tip. Below the surface lies something far larger. Luxury is the visible tip. Real wealth is everything beneath it. Investments, businesses, emergency savings, ownership, patience, discipline. Most people spend years enlarging what others can see, while neglecting what actually keeps everything afloat. Daniel rarely talks about money, not because he's secretive, because he no longer needs money to tell his story. His confidence doesn't come from logos. It comes from knowing he could lose his job tomorrow and still have choices. His assets have created something far more valuable: time, flexibility, peace of mind. Money has become his servant, not his master. Michael begins noticing something unexpected. The people constantly displaying luxury online never seem satisfied. Every achievement is followed by another purchase, another upgrade, another race. For the first time, he asks, "What if I've been competing in the wrong game?" That single question changes everything, because the goal was never to own the nicest things. It was always to own your future. Warren Buffett has often said the stock market transfers money from the impatient to the patient. The same principle applies to life: building skills, growing businesses, creating wealth. The greatest rewards rarely belong to those chasing quick wins. They belong to those making wise decisions, long after the excitement fades. There's another habit shared by financially successful people. They don't ask, "Can I afford this?" They ask, "What is this replacing?" Because every purchase replaces something. A vacation may replace an investment. A luxury car may replace years of compounding. A designer outfit may replace an emergency fund. Every yes contains a hidden no. The financially wise learn to see both. Daniel eventually realizes something profound. Money was never the destination. Freedom was. Saving, investing, discipline. None of it was about becoming the richest person in the room. It was about becoming the person with the most choices. The freedom to retire earlier, help family, walk away from work that no longer aligned with his values. Those freedoms weren't bought overnight. They were built, decision by decision, year after year. Michael slowly changes. He stops asking, "How can I look more successful?" and starts asking, "How can I become more secure?" He sells things he no longer values, pays down debt, begins investing automatically every month. The changes aren't dramatic. Most people don't notice, but that's the nature of real wealth. Its greatest victories remain invisible until enough time has passed. Perhaps that's the greatest lesson of all. Real wealth is quiet. It doesn't compete for attention. It doesn't need applause. It grows patiently, almost unnoticed, until one day, the freedom it creates becomes impossible to ignore. If looking rich and being rich are two different paths, which one will you choose? Because the answer won't be revealed by what you wear or what you drive, but by the decisions you make, long after no one else is watching. When this documentary began, we asked a simple question: why would someone spend thousands of dollars on something that does almost the same job as a much cheaper alternative? At first, it sounded like a question about luxury. But after everything we've uncovered, we now know it was never really about luxury. It was about psychology. Because luxury doesn't just influence what people buy. It shapes what they believe success looks like. And once that belief takes root, it quietly guides every financial decision that follows. Think back to Daniel and Michael. Neither was born understanding money. Both worked hard. Both earned promotions. Both wanted a better future. The difference wasn't intelligence. It wasn't luck. It was their definition of success. Daniel saw money as a tool. Michael saw money as proof. One asked, "How can this dollar improve my future?" The other asked, "What will people think if I own this?" The question seems small, but over 20 years, they created two completely different lives. Imagine two architects designing identical buildings. The first spends most of the budget on a breathtaking entrance, marble floors, glass walls, luxury finishes. Everyone is impressed. The second spends less on appearances. Instead, they build stronger foundations, better engineering, higher quality materials. From the street, it looks ordinary, but decades later, one begins to crack. The other still stands. Financial lives are built the same way. Most people invest in what others can see. The financially free invest in what quietly supports everything else. For years, Michael believed expensive possessions made him successful. Eventually, he noticed every symbol of success demanded something in return. Higher payments, higher insurance, more maintenance, more pressure. The things that promised freedom quietly reduced it. He wasn't just buying products. He was buying responsibilities. Daniel experienced the opposite. No one admired his index funds or his emergency savings. No one applauded him for avoiding debt. Yet year after year, those invisible decisions created visible freedom. When emergencies came, he stayed calm. When opportunities appeared, he was ready. His wealth didn't buy an image. It bought options. And perhaps, options are the greatest luxury of all. Charlie Munger once said, "The first rule of compounding is to never interrupt it unnecessarily." Compounding isn't limited to investing. Wise decisions compound. Skills compound. Knowledge compounds. Discipline compounds. Unfortunately, so do debt, impulse spending, lifestyle inflation. Small choices rarely change your life overnight, but repeated consistently, they determine where you'll be years from now. Now imagine removing every audience from your life. No social media, no comparisons, no compliments, no one to impress. What would you still choose to own? That question can transform your financial life because it reveals the difference between buying for yourself and buying for everyone else. The financially free stop asking, "How impressive does this look?" They start asking, "How much freedom does this create?" Morgan Housel reminds us that wealth is what you don't see. You don't see investments quietly compounding, the debt someone avoided, the emergency fund preventing panic, years of patient decisions working silently in the background. That's why appearances deceive. The loudest displays of wealth are often temporary. Real wealth is quiet, almost invisible, until one day, its freedom becomes impossible to hide. Imagine planting a tree today. For years, its growth seems invisible, but beneath the surface, the roots keep expanding, patiently, silently. Then one day, it provides shade, strength, protection. Building wealth works the same way. The greatest rewards rarely come from one spectacular decision. They grow from thousands of ordinary decisions, repeated consistently. Perhaps the greatest luxury isn't driving the newest car, or wearing the biggest logo, or owning the most expensive watch. Perhaps the greatest luxury is waking up knowing your future is becoming more secure, knowing your investments are growing, knowing an emergency won't become a financial disaster, knowing you have choices, knowing your money is working even while you sleep. Those are luxuries no brand can sell. They must be built, one decision at a time. So as this documentary comes to an end, here's one final question. Years from now, will people remember the things you owned or the freedom you created? Because trends change, logos fade, luxury products are replaced, but ownership, patience, knowledge, and disciplined investing can reward you for decades. Those who chase status may earn admiration. Those who build assets earn something far more valuable: freedom. If this documentary changed the way you think about money, status, and wealth, subscribe to the Wealth Lab for cinematic documentaries exploring the psychology of wealth, investing, consumer behavior, and financial freedom. If you found value in this video, leave a like. It helps more people discover these ideas. And in the comments, tell us, what's one purchase that taught you an important lesson about money? Your story might help someone else make a wiser financial decision. Thank you for watching. And remember, the people who look rich often spend their lives buying status. But the people who become truly wealthy spend their lives buying freedom. Choose wisely.